The Mauser company's first attempted a handgun, and so you.
Hi, this is London Town Bob again, and please tell me who you are and where we're at.
I'm Phil Schreier, Schreier, and we're in the offices of the National Firearms Museum at NRA headquarters in Fairfax, Virginia.
Well, thank you. And so what do you have for us today?
Well, I understand y'all like to talk about cowboy guns.
Yes, we do.
Stuff pertinent to Single Action Shooting Society, Cowboy Action Shooting. So it's fortuitous that you're here on the 7th of February because my day, Groundhog Day, was just a few days ago. I'm Punxsutawney Phil, badge number 5208 in SAS. Been a member for quite a while. Interesting story, when I first started work here in '89, a volunteer suggested I join SAS. Back then, I believe in early 1989, it would have been a 3-digit badge number. But I didn't have $35 at the time, so I had to wait a little while. But the museum is NRA's flagship museum. We have 3 locations, one here in Fairfax, one in Raton, New Mexico at the Francis Brownell Museum in the Southwest, and the National Sporting Arms Museum at the Bass Pro headquarters store in Springfield, Missouri. We have a collection of about 10,000 firearms in the NRA collections, and a great number of them are relative to the Old West. We have a great number of original Colts, Smith & Wessons, Remingtons that were used by the guys that made the Old West what it was. Single action armies obviously are very popular. The Smith & Wesson Schofield, the top break Smith, and the Remingtons, whether it's the 1875 or the 1890, are all guns that we have at least handguns, revolvers, that we have a great number of on display here in the museum. We also have quite the collection of long guns and shotguns, also used in cowboy action shooting. The Winchester 73, the Marlins, the Colt Lightning. Even we have a number of original Colt Lightnings. We have guns used by famous cowboys, Theodore Roosevelt being my favorite, who owned 2 ranches in North Dakota. And we have a number of his firearms on exhibit. Guns of the Rough Riders, even the Wild Bunch category. We have plenty of 1911s and Winchester 97s, on display.
While we're here in your office, could we take a look at that oddity that's sitting on your desk?
Oh yeah, sure. So this just came in. It is a Mauser. It's called the Mauser Zigzag, and in historic terms, popular. It's specific nomenclature is the model of 1878. So it's actually a European cowboy gun, at least cowboy gun, in the fact that it was still black powder cartridges. This is a 32.
Oh, okay.
And it's the center fire. And it's the Mauser company's first attempted a handgun. And so you would move this lever down here. This is your 3-position safety. And then you pull this ring lever, and that lifts it just like an old Smith & Wesson top break. But the interesting fact is you need to eject the shells. You push on this ring, and that that has a little, automatic ejector
Cover,
there, and then that goes back in. You switch that, and instead of there being a hand like on your Colts, Remingtons, Smith and Wessons, a paw that comes out to
Right.
advance the cylinder, that doesn't exist on this gun. Here we have a track, and this moves the cylinder 1/6 of a turn every time you cock it along that little track down at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I'll show you how that. You watch that, and you can see how that moves, and that's what rotates the cylinder for you. So this would have definitely been popular at the time. If you were playing Cowboys and Indians in Heidelberg. Or Oberndorf, as the case may be, as to where this was actually manufactured. But that's what makes the museum exciting and interesting, is you can see all kinds of firearms that aren't just the same that you see in the movies. But we've got the real guns, and we've got more guns than Shakespeare might say than Horatio contemplated in this firmament. We've got guns that you've never heard of that were still contemporary to the cowboy period. There are all kinds of different, Forehand and Wadsworth, Allen and Wheelock, interesting little guns, Merwin and Herbert, Hulbert, and which I'm sure most of you that know anything about firearms have heard of. But we have, we have a collection of movie guns too. And, I don't know about you guys, but my interest in firearms came from television.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, before I was even old enough to go into the movie theater, I was sitting at home watching that little black and white box, that said Zenith under it, in the corner of the room. And that's where I saw Bonanza and, the Mosby's Marauders on Walt Disney. And shows like that are what introduced me to firearms. They weren't in the house. They were in books and television.
Yep.
And so we've got a collection of the guns that were actually used by the actors, who portrayed characters that we all grew up with. Chuck Connors is Lucas McCain and the Rifleman. We have that gun. Tom Selleck's Quigley Down Under Sharps is on display here. John Wayne, Audie Murphy, names that some of the contemporary kids today aren't familiar with, but should be. Just because they're gone doesn't mean they're not relevant anymore.
Right.
But we've got Clint Eastwood's Josie Wales guns. In fact, it depends on when you're watching this. Today's February 7th, 2024, the March issue of American Rifleman. On the cover, for the very first time, is Clint Eastwood as the outlaw Josie Wales.
And I love that movie.
Well, you've got 6 pages of full color, to read when the issue hits the stands coming up here in a week or two. But we talk about all the guns of Josie Wales. Neat thing about movie guns is most of them are owned by a rental house. Stembridge, Cinema Weaponry, Hollywood Props and Guns. And these guns are rented for film and returned at the end of the shooting session. After the guns have been returned, they go on the shelf, they get cleaned, and they get rented to the next production. So in the case of Josie Wales, that big old Walker Colt that he used, he had 2 of them on him during the film. We know of at least 8 of them that were on the set at different times. One of them was the one that you see John Wayne and Kim Darby with in True Grit, where he says, "Why, what's that in your poke there?" And she pulls out, and he goes, "Good Lord, girl, that's a Colt's Dragoon." You're no bigger than a corn oven. What do you intend to do with this? She says, well, I intend to kill Tom Cheney if the law won't do it for me. And he says, well, that'll get the job done if you can find a fence post to rest it upon. But that's the same gun used in both films. They get reused over and over again. So we're very lucky to have a number of those on loan to us, having been gifted to us. And in the case of some of them, we even purchased them at auction to complete the collection.